The Taliban has been in control of Afghanistan for 3.5 months. It's announced a government, but most observers agree it is far from the broad-based, inclusive government the Taliban promised at peace talks in Doha. Informal talks continue to try to persuade Taliban hardliners to compromise, but there's no indication that the campaign has worked. We sat down with Masoom Stanekzai, head of the former government's peace negotiation team and former chief of the National Directorate of Security, to talk about the prospects for Afghanistan. This is One-on-One. Masoom Stanekzai, thank you for joining TRT World. You are among a group of former Afghan politicians working on the sidelines to find a compromise solution with the Taliban for a more inclusive, broad-based government. How is that going?
I think there is a broader consensus around these themes that the people of Afghanistan don't want any more killing, any more violence, any more division, but they want to be united. And I think that is the only surest way that the Afghan can find an Afghan solution. And that should be truly Afghan-led and Afghan-owned. And I think everybody is, the former politicians, the current rulers, everybody should think about this issue that without having an in-depth discussion, an in-depth reconciliation to heal the wounds of the 43 years of crisis in Afghanistan, I think we will not be able to achieve stability. For that reason, I think we have experienced all the different military means, and we have been also witnessing in the past 43 years, I think several regime changes, and every regime changes. Anyone who got to the power in the beginning, they were very monopolizing the power and not listening to the voice of the people. And then that lead to another crisis and another regime change. So I think today, Taliban has experienced the previous time, the 90s. And today that mistake should not be repeated once again. And I think it is the time that we have to complete the uncompleted chapter of peace in Afghanistan, need an inclusive and broad-based participation of all men and women together so that Afghanistan can achieve stability in the country.
Now, if the Taliban agrees to include a few technocrats, opposition figures, and even some women in the cabinet, this could help to gain international recognition. But going beyond symbolism, if the majority of power remains with Taliban hardliners, will it make a difference?
I think there are two very important considerations. That first, people of Afghanistan is not looking to the symbolism because we have been through those approaches in the past, and I think that did not work, and it is not lasting for long. As I mentioned, that anything that is as a kind of a solution that Afghanistan should reach to a permanent stability, that should be through the Afghan dialogue, and should not be a kind of a by including, but including technocrats or including women, that will be the right steps in the right direction, but it is not the solution. The solution is belonging to two factors. One, a functional government, a government that can deliver and include everybody, but at the same time they deliver justice and they overcome the sense of insecurity in the country so that everybody in Afghanistan, no matter to which time, which group, which or belonging to which time or which regime, I think that will create a sense of security among the population, and that will the second important issue is the justice. If the people feel they are safe, secure, they can participate, they have their rights, I think that is the real solution.
Now, you were head of the former Afghan government's negotiation team. To what extent did you foresee problems down the line due to significant disagreements within the Taliban leadership?
I think from the beginning it was clear that there were differences among the different personalities, and that is a natural issue as well. That everybody will not think in the same line. Some people were more rational, and they were understanding that without a political solution, and they were understanding the importance of a political settlement. But some others were repeating the same mistake of the past, that they were trying for a military solution. And I think the crisis in Afghanistan never had a military solution.
There have been reports of retribution and summary killings of former Afghan officials and army personnel. The international community has warned the Taliban of consequences, but it denies responsibility. What are your thoughts?
I think there are reports about this missing people extrajudiciary act and arrest. There is widely reported in the social media, and also there are cases that is reported. Whether the international community warn a government, a responsible government, or they don't warn them, this is the responsibility of anyone who is ruling and claiming that they are for the better of the country, for the better of the people. They have to immediately take actions to stop these kind of action of any individual, any group who are doing such atrocities or committing such atrocities, because that will create a situation where a new cycle of revenge, a new cycle of violence will be promoted. And for that reason, I think it is in the interest of, not only in the interest of Taliban, but it is in the interest of Taliban and the Afghan people, that they have to stop immediately if any of these kind of action is taking place, and they have to stop that. If they don't stop, it means that there will be more people will be disenfranchised and more people will leave the country, as already we are facing with a significant brain drain and many people who are in the ordinary jobs, and because of the economic situation, because of the trade, because of the perceived risk that they feel that maybe one day they will be intimidated or they will be followed, they are leaving the country. And I think seeing these painful scenes of people leaving the country is very difficult and heartbreaking.
A UN report earlier this year says the Taliban still maintains a close relationship with al-Qaeda. How does this square with the Taliban's commitment to crack down on terror groups in the country? So far, they appear to be fighting only ISK or Daesh, which is their rival.
I think Taliban, because of the kind of experience they have with the different networks of the like-minded, they can easily penetrate in the networks like ISK, and they are their rival, and they can, but at the same time, get a lot of information about them. But at the same time, there can be a lot of misinformation and misguided information can be provided by some locals for the purpose of the revenge, or anybody who is labeled as a Salafi to be labeled as Daesh. I think that kind of approach will be counterproductive. And I think it's only not the commitment, but the issue of a global network of like Al-Qaeda, which is operating globally and tackling by only one country, one group, or one movement. I think it is the most difficult issue. But on the other hand, it will require the cooperation of all those other countries from where they find the safe passages to Afghanistan. And I think it is not only the Taliban, but it is the collective responsibility of many others, that how they can ensure that these terrorist groups are not flourishing again, and there is a way or a method for making sure that yes, they are not regaining their strength to challenge or to pose risk to the rest of the world. And I think that will require technical capabilities, that will require cooperation, that will require also commitment by action, not commitment just by words.
Now, we're hearing reports of extrajudicial killings of suspected Daesh members and other brutal tactics, but no commonly accepted counterterrorism techniques. How effective, in your view, is the Taliban's counterterrorism strategy?
As I said, in terms of some part of their experience might be useful and effective, but on the other side, just be so sure of its own strategy, which is not very much comprehensive and that don't have that technical and also broader and comprehensive strategy that how to tackle the threat of the terrorism. Terrorism is not only the violence part, but it is about the thinking about those Khawarij who is thinking about in a different way and have a different interpretation of Islam. And I think that will require a more broader strategy. And I think there is also responsibility for the Islamic world, for the Muslim countries. And I think if they not collectively act on these issues and at the same time, if the kind of a strategies that more relying on military, not on changing the mindset of people, I think it will be difficult to tackle to be a successful counterterrorism strategy, particularly if you make mistakes, and at the same time, if there are situations where people are falsely accused of being Daesh or Al Qaeda or something like that, and then they are mistreated, that is also counterproductive. And at the same time, if we give them the space to reorganize themselves, I think that is the danger and risk which is gradually re-emerging.
You talk about collective responsibility and cooperation, but the Taliban has said it will not cooperate, at least not with the Americans, on counterterrorism. How much confidence do you have in the Taliban's capacity to ensure Afghanistan is not a sanctuary for terror groups?
As I mentioned, that the unity of all Afghans and any government will be successful in counterterrorism that they have the broader support of its people. If the broader support is not there, they can find different ways of to reorganize themselves and to act and to operate. Secondly, I think it is also very much important that the countries in the region, if they don't put aside their differences and use their differences will be used by the different terrorist groups, and they will find a safe haven in different parts of this region. And for that reason, that will be also not effective. That we also should think that from which path, from which route the tourists are entering into Afghanistan and how they find and who is facilitating them and why they are facilitated. So I think there is, as I mentioned, that Taliban, if the US or any other country is genuinely wanted to help them, why they should say no to that? Because if that is for the benefit of the country, for the benefit of people, and whatever a government is doing, whatever a rule somebody who is in the ruling position is doing is to serve the people. If the people are not happy, if they are not better off, if they cannot survive, then that doesn't make any sense.
Masoom Stanekzai, thank you for your insights.
Thank you very much.